All right, guys, so here comes the fun part. We're handling objections. So an objection, as we need to define it, is not necessarily a no. What an objection should be viewed as, or the mentality that we should have about it, is that your prospect is actually just saying, not with this information that I have in front of me. So maybe, it doesn't mean that they don't want to sign up. It just means that they need further information, or need something else that's going to get them to jump in feet first. Okay, so what we typically will get with objections is things like, here's a pretty common one we've been talking about lately. Spouses or significant others, they need to talk to them first before they make a decision like this. That is a situation where we want to walk the line and tread lightly here. We don't want to cause any issues. However, we can handle it early on in the appointment, as we mentioned with the walkthrough in the intro walkthrough video. So do your meet and greet. We can find out if anybody is looking to join with them. That's the easiest question to ask. Hey, was this membership that you're looking for, is that just for you? Would anybody else be joining with you? They might bring it up then. If they don't, somewhere along the way, as we have these conversations, we can find out if they have a significant other or somebody else that, would have interest in the decision that they're going to make, right? If they have a ring, that's an easy conversation starter, like your ring, how long you've been married, something like that. And we start to get into that conversation. That's just creating small talk. And then, hey, does your spouse, significant other, you don't have to make assumptions as to if it's male or female, just, hey, spouse, right, is your go-to term. Do they know that you're here? They say, yeah. Would they, are they standing behind your goals? They say, yes. Then it's really it really is turning out to be a smoke screen. It's the easy go-to. If you guys have ever been approached in a sales conversation, you may have used that before. If you have a spouse or significant others, you just pawn it off on them. Hey, I'd love to do this. I'm going to go talk to them first. And then maybe, probably, you never communicate with that person again. And that's what this person is going to do. Because one of the biggest things that we can learn here with objections is that if we don't handle these properly and give it our full effort to still try and make this sale, when that person leaves, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to come back. And you have to get that through your head first too, and through your staff's head. That is the mentality that we have to go after this. If they walk out this door, that's it. They're never coming back, because right now we have a chance for them to process this emotionally. But if they walk out the door, it turns into a logical conversation. So they're going to process it as $200 a month for this membership, or $1,000 a month for this PT. What else could I spend $1,000 on? It's probably lots of different things. Okay, I could probably put this off for another couple of months, but unfortunately they'll put it off for way too long, and then they'll never deal with this issue, right? We know that, they will know that, but they're still going to be uncomfortable making this purchase today, and if they walk, they're gone. So keep that in mind. We call that the be-back bus, and the be-back bus is a one-direction kind of bus. It does not come back. So spouse, would anybody be joining with you? Do they know you're here? Do they stand behind your goals? These are all things that we can ask them and get that information assessed. And then we can also ask them a very simple question, which is, what are you going to talk to them about? And the purpose of that question is for them to really say that the true objection is it's about the money, right? And we'll handle that in a second. Time. Should have handled this earlier on the scale 1 to 10 question, or one of the many questions that we ask on page 1. And that's where they'll say, I don't know if I'm going to have time to do enough of these classes or whatever. At this point, we can just use a simple example I've used for a long time. Mrs. Jones, as you know, there's 168 hours in a week. Yes or no, whatever, doesn't matter. And then we let them know that, according to ACSM guidelines, or whatever you want to reference, 3 to 5 hours per week of strength and conditioning type training, like we're going to be doing here, is extremely effective at helping people accomplish their goals. Whatever their goal was is what I would reference. So if they say weight loss or strength gain or whatever, I'm going to reference that when I use this example. So all we need is 3 to 5 of these 168. Do you think that's something that you can manage? They say yes, 9 times out of 10. Or better yet, if you want to guarantee a yes, you can start asking closing questions with all of these. A closing question is anything that has a contraction like N''T in it. So in this example, we could say, don't you think that you can do 3 to 5 hours a week of exercise? They say yes, right? Or wouldn't you agree with, or examples like that are things that you can use when you're asking these questions. I definitely recommend some practice and role play with that. Next up, we have accountability. So I don't know if I'll stick to it. I'm a quitter. They might not say that, but I'm just not sure that this is something that I'll be able to come in 3 to 5 days a week for. I typically fall off in things like this. And that is where we come through, and you can use your big community word. But more importantly, it's just that they know you have a supportive group of people here that have similar goals to them, and we all rely on each other. We have a private members group that they're going to be joining when they join the gym, either as a personal trainer or as a member. It doesn't matter how they join, they're in it. And these people will be building them up. You could mention Bright Spots Friday as an example of the positivity that circulates in this group and how that's going to help them stick around. You can also mention maybe any challenges that you do or any things that you run throughout the year. You can also mention any challenges that you do or anything that you run throughout the year that keeps the novelty up for them. So things are always exciting, it never gets boring, you're gonna have a lot of fun here, etc. You can also mention personal training or nutrition, one-on-one coaching at this point. And with that, it's 100% accountability. You're accountable to your appointments, that person, etc. If that is what you're presenting right now, then that's the time to highlight the benefits of doing that in terms of keeping you accountable to your goals. And then we get to the big one. Financial. This is the true objective most of the time. A lot of this other stuff is just smoke screens. They're making excuses as to why they can't join. It's usually about the money at the end of the day. So, financial, how do we handle it? First thing I would do before getting into anything else is reference back to their emotional hot buttons. A hot button is one of their goals or their whys that they gave you on page 1 that elicited more of an emotional response, something they seemed serious about or agreed that they were serious about when you asked them. Maybe they cried about it, maybe, just some sort of emotion came out of that, right? That would be what I'd be going after. Okay, Mrs. Jones, when we first started this appointment, we talked about your goals and you mentioned that losing this weight was extremely important to you because you wanted to see your kids graduate from high school or college or get married or whatever it was, right? We can go back to that and we can pull that out. So wouldn't you agree that making a decision like this, being that it's going to help you get to that point, is going to be worthwhile? They say yes, you say awesome, let's get started, right? So you can go through those conversations. Again, role play is really fun for this. It really helps out to practice these situations so that you do better with it live. The next thing we can do is we can follow an acronym called CRAFT, and this is about finding the money. So if I've done this, you have to try emotional hot buttons first. So if I've done this and it's made no difference, they're still like, I just don't know if I can afford this per month, then we go to this acronym. Now, what CRAFT stands for is caffeine, restaurant/entertainment, alcohol, fast food or junk food, and tobacco. And this is just, so that you guys can remember, or so that your staff can easily remember, or you can even make a laminated sheet out of this for them so they can reference to it. But just these are most common areas that people make or spend money on things that are having a negative or detrimental effect on their health. So if they're here to get healthier and they're not sure they can afford it, maybe we could cut back on some of these habits or these things that they do in order to make the money available to make this purchase of services. Okay, so let's walk through this. Just as examples here, we can say, Mrs. Jones, do you drink coffee? And better yet, something you can do, because these are sort of guilty pleasures, is you can mention that you do these things too. It's going to set them at ease. They're going to be a little more relaxed talking about this. They might even tell you the truth, because sometimes they can just hide this information, right? Ms. Jones, I love coffee. Do you drink coffee? She says no. Yes is easy, but if she says no, you say, what else I like is energy drinks. Do you drink any of those? Or any 5-hour energies or any supplementation of any sort when that midday nap time hits you? And just see what she says there, and then we can move forward with that. If they do agree to any of those, yes, I do drink that, awesome. How often a week do you do that? We just start with weekly. So they say I go to Starbucks Monday through Friday. So that's 5 days a week, and I get whatever, and it's $5. Okay, so if we're 5 days a week for $5 a day, that's $25 a week. We multiply that by 4 in our head or on the sheet of paper, or have a calculator by you if you need it, but we're at $100 a month. And we're just making notes. We're not announcing that just yet. They know what we're doing. There's nothing hidden here. You can even reference that up front. Hey, let's see. Actually, what I like to do with this is just right before I start with that CRAFT acronym is, Ms. Jones, I'm going to take the role of your life coach here for a second. We're talking about getting healthier. We're also talking about not having enough money to use to get healthier. So what if we did this? What if we took a look at some of the areas in your life where you're spending money on things that are actually making you less healthy? And what if we cut off a little bit of that, or we cut back a little bit on each of those habits in order to be able to afford something that will be making us healthy? And the big benefit here is not only would you be saving money overall anyways, but it's kind of a double whammy. You're getting healthier by cutting back on those habits and by investing into something like doing personal training here or joining the gym as a member, right? That's how I started out. So you do that, and then we slide right into going through caffeine and onwards, right? So again, back to caffeine, we found out, okay, she spends $100 a month on coffee. Wow, that might be surprising to them. This is something they probably don't look at. And once you find that $100, we're a big step closer to them joining the gym. But we probably still need more. So we keep going. And we'll stop as soon as we find enough money. Just keep that in mind. As soon as I see, we needed $200, now we have it, we're done. This is not the time to cut these habits out entirely. This is not the time to handle every single one of these. And you'll notice that I put tobacco at the end on purpose, because that tends to be the touchiest subject. We can deal with that later. This is not our time to judge or argue or do anything of that sort. This is just conversational. If we find the money, then we can move forward. Now we get into restaurants and entertainment. So, how often a week do you go out to eat? Or how often a month? Because some people don't go out every week. So how often a month do you go out to eat at a nice restaurant? Nice being more than fast food. They say whatever, maybe it's twice. Okay, how much is a bill typically for you? Maybe $50. There's $100 a month right there. Entertainment. Do you guys go to the movies at all? It's 10, 20, some places of the country. IMAX, $30 a ticket. Popcorn's $150 a bucket, whatever it is. So figure out what they're spending there. Throw that in. Other entertainment. You go to concerts. Here's a big one for these two things. Do you go to the bar, right? I know we have alcohol below this, but bars, more restaurants, entertainment. How often do you do that? How much do you spend on that, right? So we're just starting to learn about this. And again, once they tell us, we just write that down. We're not worried about it just yet. Next, we have alcohol. So with alcohol, how often do you purchase alcohol per month? Maybe it's weekly, maybe it's daily. Whatever it is, we need to know that. How much do you spend? Do they buy fancy microbrews that are $10 a bottle or more? Or do they buy liquor? Do they buy nice liquor or not nice liquor? Are they a top shelf or a bottom shelf person? Find that out, get a general idea, multiply it by 4. There you go. Fast food and junk. So how often do you go to fast food? It's kind of like the coffee one. Do they do that? Is that a daily habit? What does that look like? How much they spend each time? You're getting the idea here. And then tobacco products. So do you use any tobacco products? I keep it general. Do you use any tobacco products? No, I don't. Awesome. Moving on. Yes, I do. What do you use? How often do you use it? So on and so forth. Okay. So again, if I found the money by restaurants, I stop. If I found the money by alcohol, I stop, so on and so forth, right? If I don't have to get to tobacco, I don't, because I'd rather not talk about it. So we get through whatever we can here. We find X amount of dollars. Awesome. So now we go to that pot of money that we just found, and then we say, Mrs. Jones, did you know that you were spending this much money on these things? She will probably say no. She had no idea. Okay, so Mrs. Jones, because of the fact that, you know, these emotional hot buttons are important to you, but also because of the fact that we're not sure that we can afford this membership or this PT or whatever, wouldn't you agree that if we could cut down on these habits just a little bit, maybe cut it in half even, kind of at most, I don't want to push them too hard. You know, if we could cut these habits maybe in half, we'd be able to afford this membership. She says yes, because how could she not at this point, especially if you're using closing questions? So wouldn't you agree that this is a decision worth making? Yes. Okay, great. Let's get started. Okay, so find the money, get them mentally bought back in, make the buying decision. There you go. These are going to be your most common objections that you get. You're going to get other random ones. For example, if your gym doesn't have showers, maybe it's like, that's really just time. Okay, so could we find another scheduled time for them to work? You might get something like, I want to join with my friends, or I want to do small group PT because I can afford that. Honestly, I just wouldn't present small group PT at the point of sale if it's just one person. Don't even bring it up. But if it came out, or if they heard about this from somebody else and they say, I'd rather do small group, or I'd rather join when my friend joins, that's a bad situation. Can you overcome it? Probably, but it's going to be a lot of work. I would reference right back here, because it really is just financial is what it means. And a little bit of accountability. Hey, your friend can join you later. You hold them accountable, get them in here. But in the meantime, we've got you covered with our community. So there's lots of other things that could come up. They don't come up that often, but when they do, post them in the Two Brain group or ask questions to others. We can talk about how we've handled the objections, and that just goes right back to role playing, which is in our next video. Let's talk about how to train your staff on this stuff.